Yo, what's up? Eric Wong here from PowerDojo.com, and I'm gonna answer a question about hips, specifically glutes that don't work, and we're gonna get into how the hip flexors and tight hip flexors play a role in that, and I'm gonna show you how to address this issue. Okay, so this question comes from old school here. I got the question written down. Eric, I can't feel my glutes when I do lunges, squats, or deadlifts. The next day, my quads, hamstrings, and low back can get sore, but never my glutes. I know this is a problem because the glutes are an important muscle that are always talked about, but I just can't get them working properly. Do you have any tips? This is Ryan Donaldson from New York. Okay, so definitely got some tips for you because this is such a common issue in today's society. People sitting on their asses all day. Not a bad thing, you gotta do it for work, right? Or you're driving, whatever. You're sitting on your ass, that causes your glutes to shut off because when you're sitting on them, that pressure, you're cutting off the blood flow, you're pinching down on the nerves, they just get sleepy. And this is a term that one of my professors from university, Dr. Stu McGill, coined, gluteal amnesia. Such a common thing for glutes to not work properly. But the good news is we can fix that, okay? So first thing that you gotta do is you gotta address kind of, I guess, a complementary issue, which is tight hip flexors, okay? So if your hip flexors, you're sitting in this position all the time, all day, your hip flexors are gonna tighten up. They're just gonna adapt because they're sitting in this shortened position for hours on end. They're just gonna adapt and get shorter and tighter. So we gotta open that up. Now, I'm gonna take you through what I call the 3DF, or the 3D flexibility hip flexor sequence. And this is a part of my hip flexibility solution, which you can find at hipflexibilitysolution.com. What you wanna do is get a band here, okay? And you wanna step into this band. Make sure it's attached to something that doesn't move. I just got this bench here just to demo for you. So you step in and the knee that's on the ground, that's the band, that's where I'm attaching the band, okay? The band is pulling my leg or my thigh forward. Get it right up under your butt here, okay? So what you wanna do is start off in a hip flex position. And in that hip flex position, kind of wake up your butt by poking at it, and then squeeze the glutes, activate the glutes, and then drive forward into your extension, okay? Your hip extension as far as you can go without losing the contraction here. Hold out for about 5 seconds or so, and then you relax and you get a little bit deeper into the stretch, so try and shut everything off. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna activate the hip flexors. So try to pull the knee forward like you're dragging this blue pad that I'm on, I'm dragging that forward with my knee. Not actually moving, but I'm firing up the hip flexors here. Again, 5 seconds, and then relax, and then go a little deeper. Now you could repeat that cycle the same way, or you could also switch it up. So what I recommend is you internally rotate, so you kick your foot out, that's internal hip rotation, and then you do the exact same thing. Start in the flex position, squeeze the glute, drive forward, make sure your other posture is good, shoulders, chin, you're breathing while keeping this glute fired up the whole time. And relax, go a little deeper. Relax there for about 5 seconds. This should be off, everything should be off. Then activate the hip flexors for 5 seconds, breathing the whole time. Got to remind people all the time about that. And then relax, go a little deeper. And you could repeat that, or you could just leave it and do the other side. Okay, so that's the 3DF hip flexor sequence. Again, you can get that at hipflexibilitysolution.com, where I show you the whole routine to do, called the kneeling routine. There's a variety of exercises and sequences to address pretty much everything in the hips, okay? But that's just specifically for the hip flexors, and just do this on both sides is really gonna help to release this area, because we're not just hitting the muscles in terms of stretching, but we're stretching the muscles, we're activating muscles on both sides of the joint, and we're also addressing the joint capsule, specifically with the band, okay? So the activation in particular is very, very important because tightness often is a side effect of weakness. And when your muscles aren't working, they can get tight, or one side of the joint can get tight if the other side is weak, okay? So that's the case with the hip flexors and sitting and shutting off the glutes and tightening of the hip flexors, okay? So next up, now we gotta activate the glutes. So there's some standard exercises like the simple glute bridge, where you're lying on your back, like so. And when you do this, what I say to people is squeeze your glutes before you go and then lift up. And try to keep the low back, the hamstrings, the quads as relaxed as possible, okay? Hold it, squeezing the glutes as tight as you can, and then lower down. Keep the glutes on. You want that. You want the glutes to work concentrically like that, isometrically and eccentrically, okay? Because whenever you're doing exercise, say like a squat, the glutes have to be working in those 3 modes. You don't want to just go up and then just shut off. Then you're not training the eccentric, okay? So you do that, maybe 5 reps to 5 seconds, activate the glutes. But I find that a lot of people have issues with getting the glutes to work properly there. So an exercise that I use for these people who've got really, really forgetful and sleepy glutes is called the scorpion activation, scorpion glute activation. So you're lining up, it's kind of like a mountain climber position here, okay? And it takes a little bit of strength. But you're in this flexed hip position, keep your shoulder blades down and back as best you can, and you're gonna lift this leg up and just lift it up and hold it for 5 seconds, okay? Now the reason why I like this is because we're activating the glute in the hip flex position here. You're getting concomitant activation or activation on both sides. So when you do the lift here, you're bouncing on this side, so the glute's firing up. When you lift up here, this automatically gets the glute on the other side to fire up a little bit more as well, okay? The other thing it does is it keeps your back out of it for sure, because you're in this position where you're locking the pelvis in. Because this hip is flexed, my left hip is flexed here, and I'm extending the right, you see my low back, it's not going into hyperextension, which is a problem with a lot of people when they do glute activation or any exercises, okay? So hyperextension has to be avoided. You want to keep it neutral, or even in this position, slightly flexed, and then you can train that motor pattern properly. So glutes on without the hyperextension. Okay, so you do that, that's called isolation. So you're isolating the glutes to activate them, to build out those neuromuscular connections. Then you want to go into integration. So with integration, that's when you do whatever movement that you're going to be training. So if it's a squat, you can do a goblet squat. Goblet's really good, but I recommend you get down, hang out in the bottom for a couple seconds, squeeze the glutes, try and work them, get them fired up, and use them to lift you, okay? So they're on the whole time, not just going up, but going down too. So as I'm going down, I'm thinking, get on my glutes, there, hold for a couple seconds, glutes are on, okay? And when I do squats, my ass is always sore the next day, okay? Lunges, same thing. You can lunge, this side, hang out at the bottom for a bit, you can even poke it, wake it up, make sure it's contracted, and then driving up through this heel, using the glute to lift you, okay? Do the other side, hang out at the bottom for a couple seconds, activate it, drive hard through the heel, and get the glute fired up, okay? So you do that for any exercise you're gonna do, all right? So hopefully that helps you out. That's gonna get those glutes fired up. It's gonna address sometimes the root cause of gluteal amnesia, which is hip flexor shortness and tightness and weakness, and it's gonna make you feel a hell of a lot better, okay? So that's gonna get your glutes working when you do the lunges or squats or deadlifts. It's gonna fix stuff up, it's gonna decrease knee pain, decrease back pain. It's gonna do a lot of good things for you. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. If you want more, get the Hip Flexibility Solution at hipflexibilitysolution.com, because this is a comprehensive program to address hips, all the hips, not just glutes, but everything there, okay? So if you want to squat better, lunge better, kick better, run better, whatever it is, check out that program.